If you're wondering why Disney has turned She-Hulk into a non-stop joke machine, rest assured, the character's known to be really funny, even in the comics. But that doesn't mean that everything in the show is accurate to the comic books. In fact, She-Hulk's head writer recently explained a big change in the character's origin story. In today's video, we'll be looking into all this and more. So, let's smash right in. Firstly, the change had to do with how the character was introduced. Nailing a good origin story is definitely what makes so many superheroes iconic. We're sure every 10-year-old could tell you Peter Parker's origin, word for word. So, it seems all the more puzzling that the writers of She-Hulk would choose to change the character's backstory. In the comic books, Jennifer Walters made her debut with 1980's The Savage She-Hulk. Much like in the show, she's a criminal defense attorney, but in the comics, she gets seriously wounded after a crime boss orders a hit on her. The only person on the scene is her cousin, Bruce Banner, the Hulk. With their blood type and DNA being a match, he agrees to give her a blood transfusion to save her life. While he's hesitant at first, there's just no one at the scene to help out, and so he gives her his blood, even with the risk involved. Walter's blood, which has now been exposed to gamma radiation, turns her into a large green-skinned Hulk thing, while she displays the same rage as her cousin at first. Eventually, she learns to gain more control over her powers and becomes She-Hulk permanently. If you've seen the first episode of the new Disney Plus series already, you'll already know this is much different from how things took place in the TV show. Instead of having a hit ordered on her, Jennifer and Bruce were out on a road trip when their car crashed due to a Sakaran ship looking to get Banner. With both of them injured and bleeding, that's when their blood gets exchanged. Next, it looks like the change came from someone higher up at Marvel. The idea to change Walter's origin story isn't something that was just a creative decision. In fact, while speaking with Den of Geek, head writer Jessica Gao stated that the order came directly from the top Marvel brass. Gao was told that the mob hit story didn't feel like it would fit with the current direction they were going for with She-Hulk, and so it wasn't interesting nor a good tonal fit for the series. Other than that, it seems it was up to Jessica to change the origin story as she saw fit. There's no denying that the MCU stories have generally had a lighter tone than their comic counterparts. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, especially looks like it's Marvel's first ever full-on comedy show, with the jokes and humor taking center stage. With this more lighthearted attempt at the character, we really think the crime boss storyline that was featured in the original debut comic for She-Hulk may have been the wrong choice. Think about it, who'd be in the mood for laughs when the main character is literally on death's bed one episode in? So, the change to a more accidental blood exchange between the two Hulk cousins definitely looks like the right decision to us. But we're sure die-hard comic book fans might have been disappointed to see how this played out. Hey, you can't really please everyone. Plus, Jessica states that the MCU Hulk wouldn't want to give his blood in the first place. Gao adds that it really didn't make sense for this version of the Hulk to give his blood to anyone, even to a dying cousin. We're sure he's well aware of the many harmful effects doing so can have on a person. Some might even call it a fate worse than death itself. So having the blood exchange happen by accident instead of a transfusion might have been the best choice for a story set in the MCU. Jessica states that she spent a lot of time trying to think about whether or not the Bruce that we know from the MCU would consider giving his cousin a blood transfusion, even in the case of a serious emergency, and in the end, she decided that he simply wouldn't. We've spent so many movies seeing him struggle with the idea of turning into a Hulk, and wouldn't put anyone through that pain, let alone a cousin he loves a lot. The head writer behind the show says that it took Hulk over a decade before he finally became alright with the idea of his transformation. But until then, he very much considered it a curse and not a blessing. Because of this, he wouldn't really be in a rush to transfer his powers over to someone who didn't specifically ask for it. And it's not just some random person either, it's his cousin, since he knows and cares for her personally. Any and all problems she's to deal with because of the transformation will be on Hulk's massive green head. And now, the show's not going to explore the whole mob boss storyline either. Another reason behind why the origin story got switched up was because the TV series, at least for its first season, doesn't seem to be heading towards the mob boss storyline featured in the comics. While speaking with Den of Geek, Gao stated that she didn't want to waste time trying to set up Jennifer's links with the local crime organization. This was because the story isn't going to focus on that aspect of her life at all. Instead, it's more dedicated to how the transformation into the She-Hulk has affected Walter's life as a woman, her dating life, and her interactions and relationships with with her friends and family, as well as her career. And so, the head writer decided to directly cut to the chase and give the viewers the part they've been waiting for, instead of repeating a long drawn-out backstory. And we totally get it. In other news, next up, the MCU may have just teased Wolverine's debut. Fan favorite character, Wolverine, is definitely high up on the list of things MCU fans have been waiting for. And now, it seems they might finally be getting their wishes granted. The second episode of She-Hulk featured an interesting teaser for the character's introduction into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The episode featured a scene where Tatiana Maslany's hero is searching for jobs online, and tucked away at the corner of her screen is a news article that reads, "Man fights with metal claws in bar brawl." We're sure we all know just who that's referring to. The same page even managed to sneak in a cheeky little nod to the Eternals movie, so it definitely seems like it's setting up to the character's introduction into the MCU, and isn't just an Easter egg for fans. So far, we haven't gotten any direct references to the character, so it's interesting to think this completely out-of-the-way teaser is the very first Wolverine-related thing the MCU has given us. But we're sure longtime fans of the character are just happy to finally have him here. And now the question on everyone's mind is if Hugh Jackman will be reprising his role. Moving on, Batman animated series gets canceled by HBO. If you thought the cancellations at Warner Bros. Discovery were coming to a close, hold on to your horses, because we've got even more. The studio recently announced plans to cancel a new animated Batman series that was in the works, called Batman Caped Crusader. This is one of the six animated titles that have been removed from HBO Max's upcoming releases, and it seems that the company will no longer be producing them. If you're a Batman fan and saddened by this news, we've got a light at the end of the tunnel for you. The 6 movies will continue production and will be sold to other studios. So as long as the final product is good enough for a studio to buy, we might eventually get to see these movies. Lastly, Batgirl cast and crew to hold a secret funeral for the movie. Batgirl looks to be a project that was killed too soon, and what better way to honor its short life than to give it a funeral? That's what the cast and crew plan on doing anyway. According to a new report, people who've worked on the now canceled movie plan on giving it a proper farewell. Cast and crew members will be having one final airing of the movie before it gets locked away in a vault, likely to never be seen again. While it's unlikely that fans will be allowed at this funeral of sorts, at this point, we wouldn't even be shocked if someone taking part in the production just decided to leak all of it for the world to see. It's worth noting that the film is far from complete though. There's still some scenes that need to be shot and VFX work that needs to be done. So even if the movie were to leak soon, it wouldn't be in a watchable condition. That's a wrap for this video. Are you happy with the change to the She-Hulk's origin story in the Disney Plus series? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.